Welcome back to the channel, Exiles. My name is Leaguestarter and I'm happy to announce that 3.26 is finally happening, guys. It's been a year, a literal year between leagues, but I'm really happy to be back. And we are revisiting one of our old league starters, the Divine Ire Totems Hierophant, also called the Diviner. It's going to get a couple of buffs. We're going to get into that a little bit later. First, I'm going to show you guys the showcase, which has been shot in solo self-found standard. The gear I'm using is really subpar, but it works, and the showcase should show you guys exactly what the power progression is of the build once you get Divine Ire. So let's go, guys. Alright guys, I hope the showcase gave a clear window in the progression of this character from getting just started with the Divine Ire Totems throughout the acts. All of it was recorded on a 4-link, the exact same 4-link. It is double red, double blue, faster casting, Divine Ire, spell totem support and multiple totem support for a little bit extra clear. And this 4-link is what carried me through the first map, but it also carried me through the entire story as soon as I got it. Now the gear is still really low level, as you can see. Most of this gear is like Act 3 to Act 5. I really didn't do too much to upgrade it. All I did was just add life to some of these items. Some of them are really decent. The best item I found was this, which was a wand. Pretty decent one, I would say. That's a good one to have early on. This one, obviously, definitely not. Almost does nothing. Could have put a shield there, but it is what it is. But realistically, guys, you don't want to be running this with wands. You want to be running this with scepters, because Leap Slam is just too good a movement skill to ignore. I just never found any good scepters. I did get that wand, and I was like, you know what? Grab the wands. But grab scepters if you can get it. Alright guys, before we dive into the PoB, let's do a little bit of a pro and con about this build. Let's do the cons first. Totem playstyle is not for everyone. A lot of people like to be active themselves, they don't like minions and totems. If that is you as a player, this build is by definition not for you, as we are running the Divine Ire as a Hierophant totem build. Another disadvantage for this build, I would say, is that it might not be as fast as some of the builds you see out there. Think, you know, tornado shot or anything else that like chains or anything like that. It's not that kind of build. And another disadvantage I would think is if you want to make this thing really powerful, you're gonna have to invest for it, right? I've shown multiple times on the YouTube channel versions of this build, or the Shockwave Totem, or the Purifying Flame Totems, the Purifier, which follow the exact same build archetype, which reach into the 100s of millions of damage, instantly one-shotting Lycia in your Sanctum, or just destroying things like Blight Ravage. This is going to be of that same cloth, it's that same build. But obviously, to reach those levels of power, you're gonna need to invest a lot more than nothing at all. For the final disadvantage of this build, I would say it is not a tanking build. Now make no mistake, there are versions of this build where you can travel towards this area over here, grab a couple of these nodes, forgo the whole low life for endgame, and instead go for a pure suppressing build that might get you quite a bit of extra safety that my endgame version that I envision will not have. For me personally, I always go for power. Now for tier 17 maps and all that kind of stuff with Burning Ground and Awakener's Desolation and Saw Blades and that shit, don't step in there, you're gonna get wrecked. So are your totems, more than likely. But for things like boss killing, think like Sanctum, but also think Invitations, yeah, this thing is gonna absolutely smash in endgame. As for me personally, I'm pretty happy with the fact that I can use 6 portals again as a defensive layer for whatever that's worth. Taunt Totem Mastery will definitely be nice, and of course we have our 4 minimum endurance charges, which we can upgrade to 5 if we go for a minimum endurance charge on the ring, plus a node like this. All that together with enough life scaling means you can take a hit in the maps, which rarely happens with the Taunt Totem Mastery. Just keep this thing away from crazy tier 17 maps and you're likely going to be just fine. Now here come the advantages of the build. First and foremost, we are not using any transfigured gems or whatever it's called, so we don't have to do any lab runs or trade for getting the specific gem to get this build going. It just gets going, right? As soon as you have your gems, you're gonna be good. Another advantage is it got buffed, right? We got buffs to both our Divine Ire, we got buff to our Holy Flame Totem. In the beginning, it's gonna have a little bit more range. We might, in fact, play Holy Flame Totem a little longer than we did in this SSF run. I'm not quite sure, it depends on how it feels. I'll check that out during League Start. But those things got buffed. Arcane Surge got a buff, 10% increase, cast speed extra. Now on top of that, obviously, we have our Ascendancy, and our Ascendancy gives us an additional 20% more spell damage as well. On top of that, 20% cast speed. Very nice to have, definitely nice to have that extra boost, because cast speed is one of the determining modifiers for your success when you are using Divine Ire. You want to reach those stages as soon as possible, so those beams fly across the screen. More cast speed. Now we will get a little bit boost to the Lightning Golem as well, as far as I know. Don't even get me started on the mercenaries, that is absolutely awesome. And the Animate Guardian, which is what I always want to have in any build I can fit it in. It will no longer lose its gear. So in terms of power, you're gonna be good with this build, right? We know exactly how much power a build like this will generate. Question is, do you want to push it to that end? That's up to you guys. For me personally, like I said, and that is the biggest advantage, the Taunt Totem Mastery makes this so smooth. I've showed it a couple of times already. We just don't die with this thing, right? We've done a few maps, done a few tests with it. We've leveled with it through the story. it just doesn't die, because packs are making a beeline for your totems instead of for you. Now I kinda hope, I said it before as well, kinda hope that this is the case inside our new encounters, the mercenaries as well, because if they don't focus on you but on your totems, it's gonna be easy killing. Like really easy. Which is gonna be very nice in the end. If we find a rare one and we can defeat it, that would be bad. So this build, smooth, cheap, requires nothing to get going, no special gems, nothing like that at all, works on a 4-link until early mapping, and before you actually need to start investing into it, you're gonna be halfway through yellow maps before you ever buy an item, I think. So that's a good thing about this thing. Now, let's get into the PoB. When you see the PoB and you think, oh my god, that's such low damage or EHP, don't worry about it, that is just from the gear that we found during leveling. Now it's really low level gear, some of the items are still Act 2, Act 3. It doesn't matter guys, all that matters, as you could have seen from the showcase, how that gear functions, and inside the PoB is the gear from the SSF run. Options to upgrade that gear to better gear are inside the nodes of the PoB. Without further ado, let's get into that PoB. Right, so this is the PoB. Now, as always guys, we have a very extensive section of leveling nodes in here that start right from the get-go. There is a difference between the Purifier versus Diviner versus Shockwave Totem. Shockwave Totem, guys, requires the Astral Projector. At some point, we can convert this into Shockwave Totem, like the Shockwave Totem guides on my channel. Those builds all still work, so this is just a way to get there. Now, you can keep playing the Divine Ire. I will try and play that as long as possible, but with this league having so many new builds, I consider this build a league starter meant to just get you going and get your first currency. So as you guys can see guys, I'm not going to go through all the nodes. A lot of this has been gone through in the previous one as well. You have a complete leveling guide in here, a complete list of instructions as to what to use, what skills, all that kind of good stuff. Also the warning, of course, the elemental overload that we'll be using. As soon as you have conviction of power, remove it or you will not be gaining any extra damage from crit. Typical mistakes that people make and think, hey, where's my damage? Right, so here is all the instructions on how to level, what to grab, all that kind of good stuff that you guys know and love from a league starter. And in here guys, some tips for helping you while you're leveling as to how to get a little bit more damage and all that kind of stuff as well. Now, for this wasn't in here before. I would say make sure you get yourself some rare gear early on, because, you know, getting expensive uniques for a lot of people just isn't going to happen early on, which doesn't matter, right? So all you want is the items that you see here with the specific stats that I've put here in that order. For weapons, that is definitely the case. And here we have some intermediary uniques that you can get that will help you with a lot of extra power. Not necessary, but it's nice to have if you can have them. And some end game uniques, which would be the Chevron, the Prism Guardian, going low life, the whole, you know, what is it called here? Pain attunement stuff with Righteous Fire. But that's all for later, right? I've got guides on the channel showing you how to get this thing to a few 100 million damage. Just like Shockwave Totem, it's pretty much the same archetype build. But this is about getting you started. To that end, guys, we have the skill trees. A lot of them. We have a skill tree for 16 points, showing you how to start all the way through to level 84 with 107 points. None of these skill trees have any jewels, have any clusters. I want you guys to be able to build this regardless of luck, of currency, of whether you are getting some kind of a good drop. This should just work on whatever you drop. The showcase footage showed exactly what it is that we dropped. You can see it here as well. This was the only good drop I had. It was a +1 lightning with some spell damage that I crafted on there, some spell crit, and that's it. That's the best drop. The other things I was using was this one, which is pretty much useless. This crown, which is pretty damn good in terms of resistances, but life, not so much. This armor. These gloves. You know, so I just put the gear in here that I had at the end of the SSF run. So don't look at this and think, oh my god, it's so horrible. You can do whatever you want with this build, because most of the safety is going to come from our taunt totem mastery. Now you'd be surprised. You're moving through a map, you put these totems down and you see entire packs make a beeline for your totems and just ignore you. This is a very, very strong thing. I'm very happy it's back. They removed it a couple of leagues ago. They put it back again. And this is during the entire leveling process, your safety. Now, in case you're wondering, it has to be bullshit. There's no way you're gonna be safe like that. Yes, I died 0 times on this character while leveling it, while testing it in maps. If you work with your totems, and you kind of stay in the way with your totems, and you move ahead, put those totems down, then you're just not gonna die. And all you do is just, when you get the ability, you put some life on items. Let me see here, right? 30 life here, 30 life here. There was some life on there, but there isn't anything special about this gear. This is a Act 3 belt or something like that, right? So nothing on this is any kind of special. All you do is just put these totems down, move behind the totems, put the totems down, move behind the totems, and you're gonna be safe. Now with the leap slam, it's gonna be a lot better, right? But that is your play. So back into the PoB, all these trees are in here, the nodes are in here to help you guys level. The one thing that I do want to show you guys really quickly is where I say Militant Faith Dominus. Now what we want is the Dominus Militant Faith, so this one changed into Inner Conviction, which means more spell damage per power charge. Now we are stacking power charges, 1 maximum here, 1 minimum here, plus the 4 from the Ascendancy, giving us 5 power charges. It's too good to ignore. Now what do you need to look for if you go and buy yourself a Dominus version of a Militant Faith? You need to import it, put it in here, and check if it doesn't brick your power charge, the Deep Thought, or the Cruel Preparation. You don't want any of those bricked. In the end game, you'll likely not be using Heart of Thunder when we are going the whole low life thing like we just discussed and like we've seen in the other guides that I showed you guys as well, a couple 100 million damage. So don't worry about that one, but the ones you don't want to brick, Instability, Deep Thought, and Cruel Preparation. You kind of want to keep those intact. So just import the jewel from trade into your items and check whether none of those get bricked. Now for those of you who want to turn this build into an absolute monster destroyer, this would be where you go with it. Safety not included, neither is tankiness, but you won't need it. This is what you'd be using if you go Blight Ravage, if you go Sanctum, if you go Invitation farming, that kind of stuff. This is made to just demolish before you even get hit. That's the idea with something like this. Obviously not something for tier 17 maps or something like a Simulacrum. Your totems wouldn't survive and you wouldn't survive. This is just purely killing power. But I just wanted to show you guys this to show you the abilities that this build might have if you really start pushing it into crazy levels of power. Obviously there is a way to balance this out, where you don't go for something this crazy, but you start adding things like suppression to your build. A little bit more safety. For me personally, I have 6 portals. All the safety I need. Never had any troubles with this. And in terms of your Sanctum or something like that, it's definitely not going to be a problem. Once you have this level of damage, it's pew, and everything just dies. Right? That's the idea with something like this. But what does it take to get to this point? Well, obviously you're going to be looking at everything pretty much best in slot, right? +2 non-chaos is extra chaos with the spell damage crit, and double damage focus, which you'll pre-buff before bosses, or I would go for the crit multiplier there if you can't get that focus. And Prism Guardian with +2 aura, which is definitely nice. I'm not sure how much it matters. You guys can check this out in the PoB yourself, but I only took 1 corruption on each of the items. This is a 90% cost and reservation multiplier version of Alpha Soul. Very nice. Gonna be all your heralds and auras working. Then we've got a Chevron here with a +2 socketed AoE. You could theoretically go for a +2/+1 here, but that's even more expensive. So I not going that route, but just going for a really powerful version. If you do go +2/+1, then your damage would go something like this. Let's see where it is. It is Divine Ire, which means we need to put +1 in everything that is in here. And let's see what happens if you do that. This would be a +2/+1 Chevron. Well over 200 million, right? So yeah, you just go into Cuckooville at that point, and you don't need to, right? At some point, damage is just numbers. Adding Sigil of Power, you don't have to go Sigil of Power, you could put Steel Skin in there or something like that for a little extra safety, but honestly guys, at this point, for what you'd be using this build, it's not safety, right? This is just one of them Annihilator builds. Animate Guardian in here with the configuration, which is the Crown of the Tyrant in there for some extra lesser resistances and some added fire damage. You could turn this probably into Lightning and Cold for better results, but it is what it is. You get Scorch on the ground, nearby enemies are Scorch, and you get Culling Strike and the Critical Strike multiplier from the Kingmaker. Enemies are nerfed for your gloves. Shocked I didn't have to take because it's already calculated into it because of our skitterbots. Enemy on Consecrated Ground I did take because, you know, for bosses you do that with your Bottled Faith. Mana spent recently is based on 160 mana cost per second times 4, because recently in PoE 1 means 4 seconds. 4 times 160, 640, so 640 mana spent recently, which directly ties into the increased effect of Arcane Surge. And of course we are now using Wood, Stone and Spell, which I hadn't seen before, which is an additional 50% increased effect of Arcane Surge getting buffed to 20% cast speed. So that is pretty strong for an anointment. Likely there is better anointments, but not much better. Like, I just checked the power notes and this one came up top together with this one, which is Disciple of the Slaughter. 1 minimum frenzy charges and 8% damage per frenzy charge, which is really close to the other anoints. So I'm not quite sure what this is. We're looking at Amber, Verdant, Golden, likely cheaper. You could go for this instead of this, especially if you don't have 5 totems. You go for 3 totems, and this one is definitely better. The reason why that is better, guys, is we are already using rings with minimum frenzy charges, so you got 2 minimum frenzy charges here, and you add an additional 1 for the 3 frenzy charges, putting you at 5 power charges, 4 endurance charges, 3 frenzy charges. It's a lot of power. Do you need all this power? Hell no. You just don't, right? You could go for a little bit more of a balanced setup, a lot more safety. Honestly, personally, I've had enough of doing everything super safe. I've been playing PoE 2 for a little while, and I just like to go max damage. So this is kind of the route that I'm going with it. Whichever route you want to go with it. If you played a little bit more balanced, you make it a little bit more safer, it's up to you. But if I'm in Max's build, this is how it's going to look. Back to the League Starter. As for the one thing that wasn't in the previous Divine Ire guide but will be in this one, it is Sigil of Power, guys. You just make your Sigil of Power on the ground. You can link it with a more duration support, with an increased AoE, that kind of stuff. And the idea is to just gain stages. And in gaining stages you can pre-buff a boss fight and get quite a bit of extra damage to kill that boss. Whether that's a map boss or something in Acts like you've seen in the showcase, this will add a little bit of extra damage. So I hope this helps you guys have a smooth league start, guys. It is exactly that. It's a league starter. Not the fastest, not the strongest, but it will get you going, as you could have seen from the showcase footage. It is smooth as hell and you never have to worry about anything. And the one thing that I like most about this build is, like I said, the taunt. We don't know how strong these mercenaries will be, but we know one thing. When we find a rare mercenary, we want to be able to kill it. Doesn't matter if we can kill it in a split second, we need to be able to kill it without it killing us. And unless these guys are somehow immune to taunt, which I haven't seen anything of, this setup, these totems, will make killing them easy, because they'll be busy with your totems instead of you. Or so I hope. If that's not the case, yeah, right? But that's what I'm batting on. So this is going to help you guys with nothing at all, with just the drops that you see here, to just get going. I hope this build really helps you out have a smooth league start. If you want to go for like an off-meta league starter, this would be a really fun way to do it, guys. Alright guys, if you're still here and you're still watching, thank you very much, guys. You are troopers. I think this coming league is gonna be one of the best we've seen in a year. Pun intended. All jokes aside, guys, I think this build is definitely going to help you get started. Make it so you have a nice and easy league start on no cost at all. If you want to make this into the monster that I have multiple videos on, that is very possible. If you want to transition this into something else, very possible as well. Quite a few builds out there that I've seen are using a Templar right now. One of the things that is going to be very popular is going to be a Bama build that I'm interested in at some point in the league. So there's a lot of options. We have about 2 months until the next league of PoE 2 starts, and then obviously we're going to be back with PoE 2 content as well. This guide has been a little bit faster paced than I'm usually used to. I didn't go into too much in depth because there's already a Divine Ire video on my channel explaining everything in depth. So I just wanted to make a update for this specific league, of a couple of new things in there, new notes, all that kind of good stuff. If you like this kind of content, guys, make sure to leave a thumbs up, hit that follow button for me if you want to, really helps the channel grow, and leave a comment down below. For now, guys, thank you very much for watching. Enjoy 3.26. I'm gonna catch you guys live this Friday. See you later, guys.